Tottenham Live Q&A. Your questions answered on Nuno, Conte and more. Tottenham manager Q&A Live. Our chief football correspondent Dan Kilpatrick is on hand to answer all your questions about Tottenham's managerial situation after Nuno Espirito Santo was sacked this morning after only 4 months in charge. The Portuguese was appointed in the summer at the end of a protracted search for José Mourinho's permanent successor, but, despite winning his first 3 league games, has failed to make it even as far as Christmas, with Saturday's 3-0 defeat to Manchester United the final nail in the coffin. Former Chelsea boss Antonio Conte is in talks over the now vacant job, having left Inter Milan after winning Serie A last season, but the Italian was also a target for Spurs in the summer before walking away from discussions. The pressure is on chairman Daniel Levy and managing director Fabio Paratici to get their latest appointment right after Nuno's doomed tenure has left the club with a misfiring team, a disgruntled fan base, and a fight to salvage their season. Sponsored Find your questions answered below. I do not understand why after 4 months you could get him, but you could not 4 months ago. There was a problem with the transfer budget and he could not agree with what Daniel Levy wanted to do with the club. When you have a manager like Conte, you have to give him the license to get the players in that he wants and to play the system he wants. You can't interfere, he does things his way. He has worked with Tottenham's director of football Fabio Paratici before at Juventus, so that as important as that has to work, they have to marry up together and make sure they are pulling in the same direction, otherwise it can be a disaster. And right now, on the field Tottenham are the laughingstock of football, off-field they are the envy of everyone because of the stadium and the training ground, but they are making a lot of mistakes in that boardroom. Jamie Redknapp, via Sky Sports, when did the thought of his sacking begin? Dan says. My understanding was that Levy and Paratici were concerned about performances before the United game, but not minded to sack Nuno if Spurs lost. However, the reaction of fans changed that, and they acted to stop the situation turning toxic. Nuno was Fabio Paratici's choice against Levy's judgment. Is it time for Fabio to go, too? Dan says. There's no doubt the Nuno appointment is a black mark on Paratici's record, but he will arguably have justified his appointment if he can hire his friend Conte as a replacement. Bringing in a world-class manager with the club in its current state would be quite a coup and would surely be impossible without Paratici. How did Paratici actually convince Levy that Nuno was an attacking coach? I'm not buying the Valencia thing even if it's the case. Dan says. Paratici and Levy were banking on Nuno being a more adaptable coach than he ultimately proved. Paratici, in particular, was hopeful that Nuno would be able to adjust his style to suit the greater expectations and a top-heavy squad, and, buy it or not, the Italian was influenced by Nuno's approach at Valencia and Porto. The club also hoped Nuno would return the squad to the discipline and fitness which was lost under Mourinho. Hey Dan, who would you say is a better manager between Poch and Conte? Dan says, they are very different types of manager. Pochettino is a project coach who prefers to instill a squad with a philosophy and build for the long term, while Conte is more of a pragmatist who demands immediate success. Both are fantastic, world-class coaches. The question is Conte a good fit for Spurs, as Pochettino once was? Do you think Tanguy Ndombele will see a revival under Conte? People claim that Conte wanted him at Inter, but I'm sure their different mentalities will be clear. Dan says, I think it will be fascinating to see what Ndombele can do under a progressive, motivated and authoritative coach, which he arguably hasn't had since joining the club. The same is true of Lo Celso, Bergwijn, Sessegnon, and others. These are all fine players who are much better than they've shown at the club so far, I think. Lifeline for Ryan Sessegnon in a 3-5-2, if Conte is appointed? Dan says, Sessegnon has been plagued by persistent hamstring problems, so he needs to get fully fit before he can think about impressing the new manager. There's no indication of when that might be, which is a little concerning. That said, left wing back would suit him, so perhaps he could be Conte's Victor Moses. Particularly as Ben Davies is better suited to being a third centre-half in a back-three system. Sessegnon would face stiff competition from Reguilón, however, with the Spaniard also appearing well-suited to playing wing-back. Do you think Conte's been offered substantial funds to spend in January? I can't see him accepting the job, unless that's the case. Dan says, January is never a good time to spend big, so I wouldn't expect fireworks then, if he does get the job, but he has been offered assurances he will have money to improve the squad going forward. Do you think Conte would deliver on Levy's promise of attacking, free-flowing football? Dan says, he is certainly capable. The suggestion that he is a Mourinho-type coach who prefers reactive and conservative football is unfair. He is a pragmatist, yes, but has also produced sides who are brilliant to watch and free scoring, most recently Inter.